We are, not only is it hot in here because it's hot in here, because it's also hot in here because the temperature of evolution was quite high this weekend. We just got done Rama Business School, and it was really deep and powerful. So you get to kind of ride on the wave of deep, kind of profound energy that was cultivated here. And I was telling them the story that Yogi Bhajan, they needed money. They had these ashrams, and they didn't have They didn't have problems like the wild country kind of problems, because Yogi Bhajan knew how to create community. So I was telling an example of they got this property up here in New England, and it was for some reason zoned. They didn't have to pay property taxes. And Yogi Bhajan, instead of not paying property taxes, they went into the city council or wherever you go, and they said, we're opening an ashram, a spiritual kind of center, and we would like to pay property taxes. And they were like, really? So that place is still open, and it has withstood the test of time. And that's, you go into a community, you make the place better. That's what a yogi does. Wherever you go, the place is better when you leave, or the relationship is better, or the person is better, or whatever you do, you have made the environment, the experience better than when you got there. And that's what being a yogi really is about. And having that capacity with, it's not like this is what Yogi Bhajan referred to as the master's touch. We're not going to have time necessarily to solve every problem and look in every person's eyes and give every person, a long new age hug and, kind of get into know every person's name and get to know what their, childhood traumas are and all this kind of stuff. We don't have time for that. So the master's touch is that your presence becomes that kind of curative. That when you walk into a space, you make it better, and so they bought this place up there. They made the community better, which is, that shouldn't be very hard. So it's an interesting study, this wild country thing, because it doesn't take much to go somewhere and make something better, and that's what as a spiritual person or a person who's interested in spirit, we'll say, because spiritual is used a little weirdly sometimes, but a person who's interested both in their own spirit and the spirit of others and elevating the spirit of their circumstances and their surroundings and the people around them and themselves, that's a spiritual person. And so that's what spiritual people do. And so there was another ashram they had. It was a property. It was kind of more like a house I think it was in Vancouver. I just heard him say this, and it's interesting because we're looking for properties for Rama University and our expansion in California, in Venice or Los Angeles area. And he was saying that they needed money, and someone offered them, they bought the property for $60,000 or something like this. This is probably in the early 80s. And someone had offered them almost twice that for the property. And Yogi Bhajan, they were like, oh my God, this is amazing. We need this money and this kind of thing. And Yogi Bhajan said, you all are going to you're going to think I'm crazy, but there is no way that I'm going to sell this property that is infused with the mantric current so deeply, because we've done so much prayer and so much kind of mantra work in here. The price of this place is really priceless. So he used other means to make the money, which we worked a lot on this whole kind of weekend. He said in one lecture, Americans, you tell them you can use a sound kind of code to open up prosperity, and they, not only do they not believe you, but they get angry. Americans, us. So so it's like to say that is now in this group, we may kind of have a different understanding of that. But so he used these kind of vibrational codes to open up frequencies of etheric, we'll call it expansion, or etheric kind of perspective shift, which is really what prosperity is about, or the understanding of that, instead of kind of letting go of a place, a center that was holding that much frequency. He understood that. I'll tell you another little story about this, which is a New York City story. Will you do mind closing the door? We'll just lock them out there, right? They have to knock on the door. Is that how it goes around here? For some reason, this door doesn't not lock when you close it. Is that the story? You know, Hotel California around here. Just knock if you guys want to get out. The music will be really loud. We won't hear you. So this was in the kind of, this was in the Hare Krishna scene. Prabhupada lived here in New York City, the guru of that movement. He lived here in New York City, and he told the movement, you know, his kind of inner circle of people, he told them, do not sell the center that basically he lived in. I think it was up in the 70s somewhere. I'm not sure if it was 70s West or 70s East. Does anybody know? Somewhere in the 70s is where this house was. He said, do not do that, else the Dharma will fall apart. So the location was holding a certain vibrational frequency. And of course, you know, the teacher dies and everybody gets all messed up. And then, you know, that's a very normal story. The teacher dies, everybody gets all messed up, and they sent in, you know, there's some issues. My brother became a Hare Krishna when we were, you know, kids, really young. And so we were kind of, it was during this era of the Hare Krishna era, which was an interesting kind of childhood because I was doing sadhana with my brother by the time I was 6. We got up, we did cold showers, we chanted, we did, you know, I mean, that's what we were doing, which is not, you know, that's an incarnational thing. But so I was kind of aware of all of this stuff happening. There was a lot of political and a lot of drama, a lot of issues. But the reason that Prabhupada had warned them not to sell that house because it held together the frequency of the whole movement. And supposedly there was an infiltration of, you know, kind of a CIA type of infiltration, and they convinced the people to sell, convinced the people who were in charge, kind of the executive team of the Hare Krishna movement, to sell that place in the 70s, wherever that was. And then they started having all these problems. So these locations are very, very unique where spiritual practice happens. And the vibration that's cultivated in these locations, it's not a coincidence. It's very, so you walk into what just happened here in the past couple of days, and there's a huge kind of elevation. And when I opened the first Rama 7 years ago, that was really my prayer, my intention was that we would create the kind of mandala, like these, we've been projecting on this wall and these tankas aren't up, which is really bothering me. Any way we can change that? Is Emily or Pritam City, can you help me with that? Because basically we're creating a certain arc of frequency here, so that when you walk in to any of these locations, and one of those locations is Rama TV. So it doesn't particularly have to be a physical location, although if it is, it's holding a certain frequency. But even the frequency in the virtual space that Rama TV holds is just the same. And what does Elon Musk call this, Julian? A neuro... Cybernetic. Okay, I thought it was cyberkinetic. Cybernetic collective. So that's his kind of term for the basically these locations that you can create through the virtual space. Many of us feel like we know each other. Everyone feels like they know me and like all the team and stuff because they watch the reality TV show called Rama TV. So they know, you know, all about everything and the stories. Or, you know, when people come up, we've never met them before, and they're like, yeah. I mean, so there's a vibrational kind of location that we log onto called rama-tv.com. So it can be not in a physical space. It can be in a virtual space, which is important to note because we now live in a very kind of interesting era. So in the technological age, you can make these spaces. This is I was talking about this in Rama Business School. Your social media can become a space like that. Instead of a pollutant to the world of, you know, your subconscious kind of drama and insecurities and your butt and all that stuff. Your social media, I mean, it's fine if you, whatever you want to do with your butt, it's your business. But your social media can become kind of a beacon of that experience where somebody goes there and they actually have some sort of kind of experience of spirit, because that is what you have set up in that virtual space. So it's possible to do in the virtual space too. Does that make sense? Yeah. No one's home. Nobody's home. So we got some frantic call in Venice a couple weeks ago where somebody was stuck on we're like, what do you want us to do about it? I mean, we can't do anything about it. I can't remember who was that. Somebody was stuck on the patio and they called us in Venice. We're like, good luck with that. I don't know. I mean, no habla español. No, I can't remember who it was. But so these places have a certain vibration. Well, we noticed right away, and I kind of told the whole story of how I found this place, but this was the first woman-run business in the Lower East Side starting in the 40s, and her name is Minnie Silver, and I feel that she's the patron saint of this space. That's why I kept the silver monuments. I kept that old sign up, and I kept the sign that what used to be up. I kept it back here because I feel that she was very much revolutionary, and there was even press about her because it was kind of a scandal that she was running a business in the time that, and then it became less of that, but she was definitely a neighborhood fixture. And she told her family not to let this place rent to anyone but a place that was actually doing good in the world, and a place that was going to be a place where community could gather and that kind of thing. So I do feel that I knew that this location was very special. But then once we started chanting here, the vibrational kind of frequency that runs through this location is very, very unique. And it's very different than any of the other ramas. And it has a very unique essence and a unique vibration. So that's really, Yogi Bhajan says all relationship or community is basically the vibration of the people in it. Together, the vibration that we create together. That's what the community actually is. The essence of the community is the sound itself that we create together. Now you take that into your personal relationships, the essence of your relationship in whether it's with your children or with your partners or your whatever they are, whatever you call them these days, that it's the vibration between the two or more people, however many. It's the vibration between those people, and that's what creates kind of the community. And that's why on Rama TV, we're all chanting together, we're all vibrating together throughout the kind of vibrational frequency of the matrix of planet Earth. And if you don't think that doesn't change things or make a difference, then you don't yet know the power of sound. And we are just at the very beginning of scratching the surface of really understanding in the West what the sound frequency does to consciousness, does to time, does to space, all of these different kind of building blocks of reality. We're just at the very beginning of understanding this. So it's quite exciting in that way. But Yogi Bhajan would say a lot in the 80s and the 90s, this practice, this meditation, this mantra, one of the mantras that he used a lot when there was more kind of the desert, the Gulf Wars and that kind of thing, he would have everybody chant the Aung San Waheguru. And he said that mantra and the practitioners that are holding kind of that frequency and different lineages of practitioners holding different types of frequencies around the planet was keeping the planet from going into World War III, which is kind of, that's very well known to practitioners. Like, we understand that there's ways that you can shift the reality matrix through the sound. And so, therefore, when we're chanting together, that's what's creating the community. And that's what creates, recreates, and brings together the kind of frequency of, and one of the things we're always impressed by and continue to be impressed by, or should we watch? Yeah, let's watch. Oh my God, okay, she's up on a stool. She's wearing the Jedi jumpsuit from the Guru Jagat collection.com. Looks good, doesn't it? Yes. Okay. It looks good on every body. It really does. It's crazy how good this one looks. Okay, we good? Should we watch another one? Woo! She gets up on the stool. There it is. This is Pritam Studi, by the way. She's one of our star teachers here. Should we give her a round of applause? If you haven't taken her class, you must. She's an incredible teacher and has an incredible sound current. We were out on the street one day when she was tuning in, and somebody stopped us and was like, "Who's that inside there? Doing that?" They were just totally, the sound. So we're in exploration here at Rama. This is we have to watch. Okay, she fixed the thing. Whew. Now, those of you who are sensitive, you feel a difference. It's immediate. It's immediate. So, you're constructing, we're very interested at Rama in geomancy, which is basically the art and science of constructing a location that is a place where people can go and instantaneously have their mind and body shift, because the location is holding a vibration. Does that make sense? So when we started with this first Rama in Venice, that was my big prayer, is that anybody could walk in or maybe even walk by, because we get a lot of people who just walk by and just stand outside and soak up the energy. I mean, that is very common in all of our locations. So they just kind of stand, and they may not ever make it in the door, but you have no idea what has changed. Yogi Bhajan said, basically some people have taken incarnation just to have that moment at the door of the temple. They may never even walk in. Now you guys, you have a different incarnation, right? But some people, they take that incarnation just to kind of behold the temple, and they may not even, and that Yogi Bhajan said, when someone sees someone of spirit, the way he described it is someone in bhana, but someone who's holding a certain vibration of dignity, a yogi, their whole incarnation changes just by holding a person who's holding these kind of vibrations. And some of you may have noticed that, like, Tej tells this story where she was in the early days, she hadn't taken Amrit yet, and she just didn't want to, she was like in Pomona, California, and she had to go out with her family, and she's like, didn't feel like putting on the turban, and she was just like, I just want to go out and get some spaghetti and go home. And so, she didn't want to, deal with all the attention. So she put on her sweatpants and, didn't have a turban on. She went out with her brother or something, and she opens the door to some, hole-in-the-wall Italian place, Inland Empire, California. She opens the door, and literally everybody who is eating and clanking and, all this kind of stuff before she opened the door stops and turns around and looks at her. And she, and then some of you are having this experience where you can't hide the vibrational kind of frequency now that is coming through you and emanating from you. So you can wear whatever, do whatever you do. This is a very unique and a very blessed incarnation to carry the Wahe Guru, as we would call it, or the vibration of the mantra. And that vibration, a lot will be kind of, people notice. And you may be noticing that they notice. Do you know what I'm talking about? And I love this. Like, me and Julian we were just in like a parking lot in New Mexico, and we were just kind of wearing whatever. He looked like that. I looked like this, but I didn't have my turban on. And the guy just kind of looked into it was a rental car, so no like New Age tchotchkes around, no indication of anything peculiar happening. And the guy looked into the car and just was like, he handed us our parking ticket and was like, "Om Mani Padme Hum." And that So he recognized that we were carriers of a frequency. He practices that mantra. We practice this mantra, or maybe Julian might practice Om Mani Padme Hum in this lifetime. But I practice Guru Guru Wahi Guru Guru Ram Das Guru. This guy does Om Mani Padme Hum, and he recognized that, right? But that's the language of the future. See, that's what's going to be. That's how we're going to relate to each other. So that's that. I love that moment, and I had one similarly with someone, an Uber driver, on this trip, where I could tell and he could tell, and so I pulled the Om Mani Padme Hum, and he was like Om Mani Padme Hum, so we can tell, right? So this is how we're kind of building community. And what you'll notice tonight, because you should meet some people and introduce yourself. And, look, we're all socially awkward. And this is why people go to bars and numb themselves out. And, then they can kind of talk to each other in the dark. The lights are dark and they don't have to really. And that's why people do it. But we want to create a new social environment. And this is what we're going to be doing New Year's Eve. We don't, do whatever. This isn't like a moral, we're not playing a moral game here. What we're trying to create is a place where people can find expression in all aspects of their household or life. So that's a social expression, that's an artistic expression, that's a family expression, how we are family, with our children or with our friends, or whatever our expression of family is. That's an expression of community. That's an expression of our work or our destiny or dharma or whatever you want to call that. An expression of vitality. All of these things. And what you'll find in this community, and one of my most proud things about Rama everywhere, is that the quality of people who are magnetized to the vibration here is very, very high. And all of you are doing incredible things on the planet, and are very unique and very intelligent and subtle and sensitive and beautiful, profound human beings. So that's my proudest, mama thing, is that really this has become a real kind of intersection of so many different beautiful aspects of humanity. And in the technological age, in the oncoming robotic disaster, plug for my new streetwear line coming out at the end of November, in this oncoming kind of AI situation, the more we practice our humanity with each other, the more human we can be with each other, the more we develop and cultivate our humanity. This is really why we fight and struggle to have this brick and mortar experience every day, because these things are hard. It's not easy to keep these yoga centers. They call 95th percentile of failure, these things. So this is not an easy, it's not an easy scene here. But why I fight for it every day is because we need places where we can come to do this together. And we need that. And then, the people out there, they feel very connected to us. And a lot of times, we're a lifeline for them. There's no kind of spiritual community for miles and miles and counties and states and countries. These are the emails we get constantly. So we're very lucky that we get to come together like this tonight. So thank you for celebrating with us. And let's do a little something, and then we'll eat and, do some more things. That's the plan. We're sticking to it. Okay, who's new to Kundalini tonight? Anybody new to Kundalini? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, welcome. Bring the palms together. Thanks so much for listening to another lecture on reality riffing. These are conversations and topics that I think are very important to discuss. If you enjoyed, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and share with your friends and your family. If you also want to continue to listen, bigger lectures and classes and other experiences are available on gurujagat.com.